Welcome back, everybody. Episode 150 here on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com. The final hour here on this lovely Wednesday, January 20th, 2016. Paying tribute to my favorite songwriter and guitarist of all time, Glenn Frey. And another big Eagle fan joined us here on the Illinois Media School hotline is WWE Hall of Famer and the brand new play-by-play commentator for New Japan Pro Wrestling on AXS TV. He's the one and only Jim Ross at JRS BBQ. JR, welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Experience.
Oh, good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. And obviously some sad news with some of the recent passings that's been going on. I know you're a big Eagle fan, and we talked about it a couple times on Twitter, but what was some of your favorite Eagle songs and your long-lasting memory of Glenn Frey?
Well, the irony is that the sad part is that, a part of my growing up, my maturing as an adult and as a man, had the Eagles as my musical backdrop, because in the territory days in the 70s, and then moving forward, you're in the car a lot. You're in the car a lot, and you're listening to the radio pretty much all the time, and the Eagles were a fixture of that. So I mentioned that over my wrestling career in the territories, I traveled with the Eagles probably more than I traveled with any of the boys. So it was sad. It's a sad deal, and I was very fortunate to see them in concert several times. And I don't know. I usually say this: I don't know. I haven't heard any Eagle songs that I don't like. Well, I like it all, and my iPod is I've got pretty much everything the Eagles have ever done on my iPod. That's part of my go-to when I travel. So it's a tough day, and it makes us all understand, man. Tomorrow's not guaranteed, so True. It's a sad deal, and condolences to all his fans.
Also, that's a big saying. JR also says to close off the Ross Report, which you can hear on Podcast One every Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which makes it 8 p.m. here in Chicago. JR, speaking of the podcast, what's your goals for the Ross Report in 2016? Do you expect to do more shows, or are you going to keep it to one show a week?
Right now, we're going to keep it to one show a week. Podcast One would like for me to do two shows, but it's right now I'm very content on doing one. It's growing. We're doing about 500,000 downloads a week. If I could be guaranteed, and it can't be, that we'll do another 500,000 downloads if I do a second show, then the income would be commensurate to do it. But it's just a tremendous amount more work, and I'm writing a book. That's taking some time, and then this project I'm very excited about, the AXS TV partnership and being a part of their team and broadcasting with Josh Barnett on the New Japan wrestling shows on Friday nights in prime time, by the way. So I got a lot on my plate. But the podcast has been a real blessing. I enjoy it. I enjoy communicating with the fans and interacting with them. So right now, one show. Okay. But you never say never. We're open to doing a second show, but it's just got to be under the right circumstances and the right drop date and some of those things. So it's going to be a busy year.
We're talking to Jim Ross here on the Pro Wrestling Experience here on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com. Jim will be the new play-by-play man for New Japan Pro Wrestling on AXS TV, which you can check out on Fridays on Primetime Television. Jim, let me ask you this. You did a lot of voiceovers and recalling a lot of old-school matches from Mid-South up at WWE headquarters, right? Do you feel this is going to be the same experience with your taping schedule? Obviously, these New Japan shows are kind of out of date, but will it be kind of the same experience with you trying to recall old matches, or is it going to be like nothing changed? It's like going back to work?
I would suggest to you that through my work at Mid-South, all the matches that we revoiced in WCW, which were dozens a week. I remember one week I voiced over 70. I was doing about 70 matches a week.
Wow.
In my production at WCW in Atlanta. And then certainly doing repurposing a lot of matches in WWE. I probably have done more, revoiced more existing matches than any wrestling announcer currently working. So to me, I don't have any issues replicating spontaneity, excitement, in a audio booth, as I would doing it at ringside. It's just I've been really, really blessed to get. When I can hear it well in my headset, the feel is there, and so I don't expect any issues whatsoever. To me, I'm going to on March 4th when our first show airs on AXS TV. As far as I'm concerned, every Friday night is going to be my own personal WrestleMania. I'm bringing my A game. We're not going to try too hard. I talked to Steve Austin today, and he said, "Man, I hope he's real excited. He's going to help promote it and social media wise, and he's happy for me." He said, "Well, I know you. Just don't try too hard the first show," and that's what I got to do. I'm anxious to get back in the saddle. I'm ready to roll, and I want Josh Barnett and I to be the very best pro wrestling broadcast team on television. Period. And really don't want to accept anything less. So a lot of high goals. We want to help build the brand. We want to help get more viewers to AXS TV. So I'm fully motivated to rock and roll in this deal.
You had the great honor to do the play-by-play for Wrestle Kingdom 9 last year, part of Global Force Wrestling and New Japan last year. Obviously, now with this new adventure, and I'm loving hearing the drive and ambition you still have here during this interview. Jim, let me ask you this. What aspects of New Japan that you're looking forward to when it comes to the March 4th premiere, and what particular stars on the New Japan roster are you looking forward to when it comes to calling their matches?
Well, first of all, I like the New Japan office, the wrestling office, promotional office, has long been considered one of the premier wrestling promotions in the world. And it's not something that's just come about in the last 4 or 5 years. It's been that way for years and years. So they have a great heritage, great lineage with their company. The fact that the talents are very fundamentally sound. They don't take any unnecessary shortcuts. I love the physicality. They call it strong style. Strong style just means the physicality is ratcheted up. Strong style is an inside wrestling term, but basically what it means is that the guys are being more physical. And I love that. That was a Mid-South, a UWF, even some NWA years. That was what they were known for, that physicality. And so I'm looking forward to that. I love the fundamental soundness. I love their philosophy. The fact that anybody can lose on a given night. Nobody goes through the motions. It's there's just a lot of things about their product that reminds me of my earlier days in the business. And they got great stars. Tanahashi's a great star. Last year the two guys that I came away, three guys, Tanahashi, Okada, and Nakamura. Were all three guys, and not the only three, but there were three that really jumped out at me after I did Wrestle Kingdom 9. But the covers aren't bare there. They got some great stars, and of course it's common knowledge that some of the New Japan guys will be soon transferring teams to WWE, which is good for them, and it's good for New Japan, quite frankly, in my opinion. So I think the guy that I see being the centerpiece for years to come in New Japan, as long as he stays healthy, is Okada. And I think he's he's 28 years old, and he's got a great look. He's very athletic. And I think that they got several guys that are going to be stars, and they're coming of age now. And the exciting part for me is that I love getting talent over. Yeah. I love creating excitement and help building the brand and the talent's brands. So we're going to be on the cusp of that. We're going to be on the ground floor of helping usher some great new stars in New Japan into the living rooms of fans in North America. So that excites me.
Did you get a chance to see Wrestle Kingdom 10 yet, and what was your thoughts on the pay-per-view?
I will be completely transparent and honest. I did not. I have not seen it yet. I don't. I need to. I need to tell you that the logging on to New Japan World is not easy.
Yeah, it's not.
For an Okie like me, come on, man. I have a hard time speaking good English, much less Japanese. So, but I have not seen it yet. I obviously will watch it as it aired. A copy of the show, but I haven't seen it yet. I read about it. I heard good things about it. So, I'm looking forward to it. And at some point in time, I'll be calling those matches on AXS TV, which I'm looking forward to as well.
True. One of the main things I heard from your commentary and also Kevin Kelly's commentary from this year's Wrestle Kingdom was the fact that Okada and Tanahashi kind of had like a Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin type of rivalry in New Japan. Can you expand on that a little bit?
I think they do, and I think it's healthy. I think that what you want as a promoter or an administrator is for the third guy to get involved in that conversation, and then a fourth guy to get involved in that conversation. During the Attitude Era, we had Rock and Austin, but we also had The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels and Triple H and Mick Foley and New Age Outlaws. We had a lot of guys looking to find their way into the main events. So that's what you always want. You want guys that are motivated and hungry, but really not unlike any other business. If you're a sales manager and you have salespeople, you want them to be motivated and looking to be the top salesman. Bingo. So I like that, but I can see the parallels between Austin and Rock, Okada and Tanahashi. But I think it's healthy. I think they push each other, and I think that's a good thing. So and then you want others to see how well Tanahashi and Okada are doing, and want to join the party. And when you do that, then all of a sudden your foundation for your roster becomes more horizontal than vertical. So you don't want vertical booking is good in storyline sense because it's moving upward. But as far as your roster is concerned, you want your roster to be more horizontal and have more guys on a comparable plane.
True. So
that they're interchangeable parts, and then you look for the chemistry to really come to the surface because some guys are going to have better chemistry with others, than they will with others. So I like that. I like the competition there, and I like the fact that New Japan is also very diligent in developing new stars and new talents, and how they train their talents is very admirable.
We're talking to Jim Ross here in the Pro Wrestling Experience here on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com. Jim will make his play-by-play commentary debut for New Japan on AXS TV on March 4th. You can follow Jim at Twitter at JRSBBQ. I'd be remiss to bring up Mauro Ranallo, who you're taking his slot in the play-by-play role. What's your thoughts on his commentary style so far in the WWE system on SmackDown? I get the pleasure again to cover SmackDown each week for WrestleZone.com doing play-by-play articles. So what's your thoughts on Mauro's progression, if you will, on SmackDown so far?
I think he's been terrific. I think he's everything that they wanted and more. It seems as if WWE is allowing Mauro to be Mauro, and that was the only concern I ever had was, are they going to try to make Mauro into something that he isn't? And which people may say, well, why would they do that? Why would they hire a guy with a certain skill set and they don't want to change the skill set? Well, that doesn't make any sense. But that doesn't mean it isn't done.
True.
In the game. So. But I think he's done a terrific job. He's conscientious. He's got great energy. He cares. He's emotionally invested in the product, and he wants to be good. He wants to be great. I think his chemistry with Jerry Lawler has been outstanding. And I did a show this past weekend in Oklahoma with Lawler, and he was really happy that Mauro's on board and doing a good job. I think a lot of guys that are broadcasters that have issues sometimes with working with a three-man booth.
Yeah,
it can get a little bit crowded, and I am not a three-man booth connoisseur, but that's what they're doing, so that's what it is. But I don't know Byron Saxon's role for sure, but he's a great kid. But Lawler and Mauro would kill it if they were by themselves. That chemistry would be really, really dynamic, but that's not the way it is. But Mauro's done a great job, and he'll only get better as time goes on, and I'm happy to call him a friend, and he did a great job. I was sitting here in Oklahoma watching AXS TV on Friday nights, watching Mauro and Josh do New Japan Wrestling, and just loved it. It became my favorite one-hour show. I think wrestling is best suited for 1 or 2 hours max.
Yeah.
And I love that one-hour format of the New Japan show because we're going to put our foot to the gas and we're going to give you a hell of an hour. So Mauro did a great job on that show. So I'm not going to saunter back in and flop down in his seat and go through the motions. That's not my style. My massive ego will not allow that. I got to give you everything I got, or it don't work for me.
True.
So I'm looking forward to the whole situation. But Mauro did great, and he's got big shoes to fill. But I'll do my best.
I'm curious, hearing from your point of view on this. Do you feel like the former wrestler, the former football player, becoming a color commentator is being played out? Because I see so many former athletes now being on pre-show panels, calling games for college football or the NFL or basketball. I think it's a little bit too much these days. Like what I loved about your commentary and Gordon Soley is that I can focus on what's going on in the ring and on the field. So do you feel that former wrestler, former football player becoming a broadcaster is being played out today?
Well, it's a hard job. It's a hard job. I don't know if it's being played out, but it's a hard role to fill. And then depending on how you're produced, what you hear in your headset also affects your work. So it's a hard job. It's a tough broadcasting in general in that world, like WWE, for example, or any wrestling match, AXS, New Japan, Ring of Honor, whatever, TNA, it doesn't matter. It's not an easy job. And a lot of what I have seen over the years, not referring necessarily to today, but over the years, when wrestlers become color analysts, they're really proficient at getting themselves over.
Yeah.
They're not as proficient as to be totally unselfish and getting the other talents that we see on our television screen over. And that was always my goal, because that's how I broke in. Bill Watts broke me in that way. It's not it's like the example I'll give you. The first day that Jim Cornette and the Midnight Express from the Mid-South Territory, we were doing interviews in Shreveport, and Cornette had a 3-minute interview to do, and he spent a minute and a half of it lambasting me, and he didn't know me, but he just, that's what they did in Memphis with Lance Russell. Lance was a big part of the presentation.
Yeah.
And so that's what Cornette knew. And so Cornette went that road, and he did his interview, and he was very proud of himself. And then there was silence in the studio, and Watt stood up and said, "Well, that'll never make air, because you're not going to work with Jim Ross. They would not draw a dime. I would kill the business booking you two guys. So next time, starting now, I want you to devote your attention to the talents that you're going to be working with." And so the point being is that Corny went on what he knew. And, of course, when Watts told him what he wanted, Cornette was as good as there was doing it right away, the first take. But a lot of guys and a lot of talents are very, very good and proficient at getting themselves over or their team over or whatever, but not so much getting the other guys over. So I think it's a lazy hire, quite frankly, to some degree.
Yeah.
You assume that the color guy is going to know more than the play-by-play guy, and I can see it being more maybe in football or even MMA to some degree. But I also think that some big television executives are a little bit lazy in wanting to hire. They hire a guy that's got a great athletic reputation, but absolutely zero reputation as a broadcaster. And they stand out like a sore thumb. So it's a tough job. It's a really tough job to do it the right way. And but I can see what your point, and I think it's a situation where you got to get the right guy, and he's got to have the right chemistry with the play-by-play guy, and that's why Lawler and I had such a great run. Is that we had amazing chemistry that was just natural. I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't. Same thing with Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman and I had amazing chemistry. We never rehearsed. It just happened. And I hope that that's the same thing with Josh Barnett, that he and I will have great chemistry, and that we'll start off on a positive note and only get better. But it's a really challenging job to get all this stuff done and to work with different partners and different talents. And the other thing, back in the day, quote-unquote, the talents were more fundamentally sound than they are today.
Mm-hmm.
You got guys now using DDTs for high spots.
Yeah.
You got guys now that are taking steel posts on the outside, and 30 seconds later they're healed. It's a harder genre to describe and to narrate or call than it was back in the day, because the talents back in the day were more fundamentally sound. They had a very more compatible pace, so it was easier. It's harder now because the talent pool is not as depth. Main event talent pool is not as deep. So it's a tough job.
It's very interesting. I know that some commentators are produced in certain ways, and it is what it is. But in wrestling or any type of broadcasting, you're trying to learn something and put your talent on the field over or in the ring. So I totally, completely understand where you're coming from. It's just as a fellow broadcaster, I'm just curious from your point of view when it comes to that. A couple more things before we let you go, Jim. Who would you like to see in Super Bowl 50 this year?
Well, I think that whether we like it or not, I think it's going to be New England. And even though New England's going to travel this week, I wasn't overwhelmed with the Broncos. And I don't know why. I'm not an anti-Bronco guy. I just thought they might be. I just didn't feel I didn't feel it. I have followed and really admire what Arizona's done. I love Bruce Arians, because we're the same generation, the same music, the same age, the whole 9 yards. So I kind of migrate to him. So I'd like either Arizona and I'll just pick. I like Arizona against New England. I think that's what it's going to be. I think Arizona wins Sunday, and I think New England wins. And that's very unusual because they're both road teams. True.
And I'm very interested to see how the NFL sets up the presentation of the Super Bowl, since obviously WrestleMania was there last year. It's going to be kind of interesting to see how like the box office and the gate for that event's going to be. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. And, of course, we got the Royal Rumble coming up on Sunday. It's the 29th annual Royal Rumble event. Second time the WWE title's on the line. The first with the actual champion in the Rumble match. Roman Reigns is starting number one. What I really like about this Rumble match, Jim, is the fact that you could have a couple of WrestleMania matches spew out of that Rumble match, where it's not only the one guy winning and then he gets the title shot at WrestleMania. Do you like this scenario, or do you like the traditional, the winner of the match gets the main event slot at WrestleMania?
Well, I wouldn't want to do this stipulation every year.
Yeah.
But under the circumstances of Roman Reigns trying to become the guy and WWE trying to position him to be their top guy, I understand it. Now, the issue is, so I kind of like it. I'm with you. Would I want to see it every year? Not really. I'd go back to the tradition. But I understand why they're doing it this year. And it's probably the saving grace for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Because what else going into the Rumble this Sunday is hot? Nothing.
True.
And what else are you looking forward to that's booked on the card? I don't know what else is booked on the card other than Charlotte and Becky. So there may be other stuff there. I missed maybe a tag title match or something. The tag titles are cold. The women's title it's building and it's growing, but it's not like it's a red hot deal.
Yeah.
I will love to watch the match. Don't get me wrong, and I'm happy with what the girls are doing. Charlotte's going to be a great heel. Becky's an outstanding babyface. They should have great chemistry. I don't think that Charlotte needs Rick out there, Dad. I wrote on a thing, maybe my blog this week, that I thought that what would happen if Charlotte sent her old man to the curb and fired him in public? Would she be a bigger heel, or would it turn her babyface? Well, obviously she'd be a bigger heel because she turned on her own father and disrespected him. That's how you make a heel.
Yeah.
And as it is, he's going to rob her some of her sunshine spotlight because he's Ric Flair. He can't help it.
Yeah.
It's not his fault.
Uh-huh.
It's a matter of booking. So I think in the long haul, Charlotte needs to be on her own. But point is, and I digress because I start talking about wrestling and I love it, is that this Royal Rumble is a one-match show. I did a feature on FoxSports.com, still there, on my top 10 Royal Rumble moments. And looking back at all those cards, the undercard for Royal Rumble over the years was outstanding.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's evaporated. So now we're putting all of our eggs essentially into one Roman Reigns carried basket. And I think that Reigns will prevail. I said, I even wrote a little angle that McMahon comes out after Reigns has gone through hell and high water, and he survives. He's the guy, and McMahon says there's a 31st entrant, and here comes Triple H, and Triple H is fresh and full of P&V, and Reigns has gone through 29 guys and survived it. And, of course, Triple H is kind of like the Money in the Bank deal.
True.
Triple H is able to win the title, and then Reigns becomes eligible to challenge him in February, and Reigns goes to WrestleMania and regains the title from Triple H. So that's one school of thought. I've also always thought that Brock Lesnar needs to be in the main event. But if you want to get Roman Reigns over as a babyface, booking him with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania is not the path to do that, because he's going to be second fiddle to Lesnar, as will anybody else on the roster.
Or bringing in Daniel Bryan, I think that'd be a bad decision at this point. I don't know if he'll ever show up. We'll see if it happens or not. But another match I think you forgot, Jim, was Owens and Ambrose in the Last Man Standing
That's
match.
right. No, you're right. See, but that's the whole deal. I'm a big Owens and Ambrose fan, both of them. I forgot they're even wrestling. That's how the angle has played out for me.
Yeah.
That's how lack of detail has played out for me, and I like both those guys. And sometimes matches like that have a way of slipping in the back door and stealing the show, because you don't have high expectations for it. I know they'll have a good match, but my expectations are yet to be determined in that match. So it's a unique deal. You mentioned Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan is a wonderful human being, but people got to understand, wrestling fans are so knee-jerk.
Yeah.
If he's not cleared by the WWE doctors, the WWE cannot allow him back in the ring. If he believes that his health is worth the risk and he's got to get back in the ring and it's his life's work and I got to do it, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it, really? Come on. Then he's willing to take a chance and gamble his health in another promotion, another company, then that may be what he needs to do. But if I was back in my old EVP of talent relations, there's no way in hell I'm going to clear Daniel Bryan until my doctors tell me that he's healthy. Why? I'm not going to be the good Lord and acquiesce. I'm going to say you're healed. I'm not an evangelist, man. Your doctors say you're not ready. Doctors say this has put you in jeopardy. I'm not going to be a party to it. So that's how I look at that deal. People think there's some sort of ridiculous conspiracy theory that WWE's holding Daniel Bryan back.
Oh,
how can
God.
people be so stupid? Why would WWE or any promotion or any company withhold a star and not get them back on TV and turn them loose?
That's probably the dumbest thing I've heard this year, to think that they're holding him back. That's nonsense. The guy would never been in a WrestleMania if the company didn't like him in the first place. That just makes no sense. Jim, man, it's a pleasure having you on the show as always. I love your work. I love your podcast. I'm really looking forward to your play-by-play on New Japan on March 4th on AXS TV. Follow JR at Twitter at JRSBBQ on Twitter. Go to JRSBRBQ.com. He says it on this podcast. This is the strangest URL out there today. But Jim, man, buddy, it's a blast having you on. And in the immortal worlds of Glenn Frey, take it easy, and we'd love to have you back on the show.
I'll be standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona. Such a fine sight to see.
All right, Jim, thank you so much for coming on.
All right, buddy. Take care.